Let's continue on with media, folks. Obviously, the news, Fox Sports, they release Emmanuel Acho, Joy Taylor, Paul Pierce. Did they release a LaShawn McCoy, champ?
Yes, sir. And Keyshawn.
Keyshawn Johnson, yes. Um, Obviously, I'm not surprised that Fox News made the decision to let them go because of the ratings, how the shows didn't turn out so well, like Speak. Undisputed, we've talked about it before, champ. They were never going to be the same after Shannon Sharp's departure. Even when they brought in Keyshawn Johnson, Richard Sherman, and Michael Irvin, they're nowhere near the talent or personality as Shannon Sharp. With Joy Taylor, remember, let's not forget the lawsuit that she and Skip Bayless were allegedly involved with the hairstylist, the former hairstylist. You know, Joy Taylor was accused of sleeping with some of the top executives at Fox Sports just to elevate herself. And according to the lawsuit, allegedly telling the hairstylist to get over it after she was sexually assaulted by one of the top executives. As far as with Paul Pierce, I believe he'll be fine. If there's one podcast I can see him on is Gilbert Arenas' podcast. That's the podcast I could see him with because there's him, Gilbert Arenas, Kenyon Martin. I've seen DeMarcus Cousins, Brandon Jennings, Nick Young, and they've had some bad takes. They've had some good takes. Paul Pierce can handle that type of podcast. Heck,
Yes.
Paul Pierce can handle any type of podcast. I saw him doing a podcast with Dr. Cheyenne Bryant. So I could see Paul Pierce doing that. Keyshawn Johnson, okay, I like Keyshawn a lot, but he hasn't been the same since Sunday and Monday NFL Countdown. You've been let go from ESPN, and you've been let go from Fox Sports. Now, it's also been reported Fox Sports, they landed Dave Portnoy of Barstool Sports to join on the big football game day for college football. I think they're kind of like using him the same way ESPN brought in Pat McAfee, not only to have his own show, but also to be on college game day. I think that's the reason why Fox Sports brought in Dave Portnoy, because if you look at the shows right now for Fox Sports, the best ones are First Things First with Nick Wright and Chris Broussard, and then The Herd with Colin Cowherd.
Yes.
That's about it. There's not really that many good shows right now on Fox Sports. As for Joy Taylor, I could see her doing podcasts. She was on podcasts with Taylor Rooks before. And Joy Taylor talks about a lot of other things besides sports. And I've said this before, champ, when I did the video on this, and you saw the video. Joy Taylor, whether if she works in a big or a small network, she's gonna have to live with the perception of being a hoe. I don't like using that term, but unfortunately for Joy Taylor, that's gonna be the perception. Because people, I'm sorry, champ, but that's just. I'm sorry, champ, but that's what it is. Because anytime when you bring up Joy Taylor on social media, they're gonna ask who she had to be with, who she had to sleep with. You know, what top executive did she had to be with just in order for her to have that type of job? And also, yeah, I'm sorry, but I'm being honest. And plus, champ, the only time you agree with Jason Whitlock is when he talks about Joy Taylor and that peanut butter skin. So
I'm dead right about that. You could at least said, a harlot, what biblical or something like that, but you had to bring out the hard H. But
am I lying?
Unfortunately, you're not. And here's the thing. I believe that each and every one of those young men and women is going to be fine. Keyshawn Johnson has a new series out on his sports channel called Legends of Los Angeles. As we all know, he's from Los Angeles.
Yes,
and I'm
US.
enjoying that as we speak. And I think Keyshawn needs his own platform because he's for better or for worse, he's too big to share the stage with someone. I would say he's not a Shannon Sharp personality, and he doesn't have the credentials that Shannon Sharp has. But for him to do the Legends of LA, talking to Candace Parker, Cheryl Miller, just to name a few, that whole thing is beautiful. And I'm loving what I'm seeing from Keyshawn. Paul Pierce, nah, he's good. I can see him with No Chill Gill. I can see him with those guys.
Definitely not ESPN. Not after how he
No.
ended.
After that whole thing ended, you'd be lucky if you get a job as the janitor at ESPN. Emmanuel Acho is a smart. Emmanuel Acho is a smart man. He was a top selling artist with his book. He was a smart man. So I wouldn't don't be surprised if he land on his feet on another network. May not be ESPN, but don't be surprised if he land on his feet with another network. LaShawn McCoy, same thing. As far as Joy goes, I'm just going to be very, very honest with you. You can have the perception of a lot of things, but the thing is, just going to be very, very honest. There's a lot of stigmatism about women in media. There's a lot. And even without a lawsuit, there's always going to be that stigma. It's always going to be when you see a young lady in a high place, they're going to be asking, well, who does she have to be with in order to get that position? I'm pretty sure that people are going to say, people silently, and you hear it on a lot of discourse, they say the same thing about the First Take host, Molly, because they say how, she speaks out of turn. She really doesn't know sports. There's always a discourse around women when they're in high places of power about who they slept with. Are they really that talented? And you just have to be ultra special as a sports journalist in order to be in that position. So the thing is, to your point, yes, she's going to have to be up under that stigmatism and the jury being out on her, but you have to ask yourself, what woman, even without a lawsuit over their head, even without a lawsuit, hasn't faced that?
I'm sure they faced
And
that, champ, but
and that
doesn't it
and
hurt?
that's me being PC. But the thing is, you have to ask yourself that in reality, what woman hasn't been able? What woman have we ever seen that we haven't said that? Well, I was not won't say we, but the masses hasn't said, I wonder how she got this job. She doesn't really know anything about sports. She was just at this job as a radio host. How she get on ESPN? How she get on FS1? How she get on the herd? That's a stigma that women face every single day. And like
That's
I said,
true.
that's even without a lawsuit on your head. Now, with that lawsuit, are people going to look at you sideways even more like,
But that's my point, champ.
are you serving that peanut butter up on the platter for somebody? So that's what they're going to ask, unfortunately.
You talk about me being online. You just had to bring up that peanut butter.
Hey, man, look, man, now I got to go. Look, the only thing about this now I got to go to YouTube in order to see it. You know what I mean? But that's a whole nother story for a whole nother day. But I will say this, man. There's a stigmatism that women deal with even without a lawsuit over their head. And thus far, we got to keep the same energy that we do with all of these other athletes, with all of these other men that's in media. You're guilty. You're innocent until proven guilty. And the thing is, we haven't heard much about this lawsuit anymore since the beginning, since it stopped. There's been a lot of innuendos. There's been a lot of rumors. There's been a lot of jokes and discourse online. But as far as it being a verdict, as far as somebody winning or losing a lawsuit, as far as new evidence coming out, as far as less evidence coming out, people recanting their stories, we haven't heard anything about this lawsuit again since it came out. So the same energy that we have with these athletes to say they're guilty and to prove it innocent, then guess what? We need to have the same energy when some of these reporters have their little outburst or little day in courts, if you will, when the verdict is out on them. You're guilty until proven innocent. And thus far, we heard about this lawsuit, I will say 1 year last year. We heard about it last year, I think. And
months ago.
Yeah, last year. And we haven't heard about that lawsuit since. I mean, it's been so quiet that they haven't even given a statement. The only thing that Fox said about it is we're aware of it. But since then, the lawsuit has gone nowhere. We haven't heard anything about it. So the thing is, the same energy that we have with these guys saying that, hey, you're guilty to proven innocent. We got to make sure some other information come out and stuff like that. Same energy we have with them. Let's have it with the ladies when they get into some trouble. Let's have it. Because the thing is, if somebody comes out and recants their story and it comes to find out they're lying, then what are we going to say?
Then Joy Taylor's going to deserve an apology. But the thing is, champ, we don't know whether it was true or not. We haven't really heard anything since it came out. But when you have Joy Taylor saying the type of stuff that she has said on podcasts,
you know what? I say a lot of stuff all the time. Is the verdict gonna be out on me? I mean,
no, but you know how people are on social media. They gonna pick.
They gonna pick. But the thing is this: I make it be clear that everything I say on here is a part of the show. It's a part of the act. The thing is, you have to make money. You have to use your personality in order to sell podcasts, in order to sell your magazines, in order to sell yourself. Does that mean you do that in real life? Hell no. There's a lot of stuff that me and you talk about offline that I joke about. No. I'm lying, but still.
I know you are.
I'm lying, but
with that being said, champ, unfortunately for Joy Taylor, I understand the stigma part with women.
Yeah.
But when you have these types of accusations, it's still going to hurt you. And again, no matter what, innocent or guilty, people are going to always bring up those types of things. I mean, we heard the news with Shannon Sharp. He recently just settled. And people are going to believe, because he settled, it means he paid them to go away. But we don't know exactly why did he settle. Yeah. So people are going to look outside from a difference and say, hey, he settled because allegedly he's just paying them to go away. We don't even know why he settled. Yes. We did know that from Shannon Sharp, he said he was going to handle the situation. He said he would be back come preseason for ESPN. He stepped down from ESPN. But I do believe Joy Taylor will be fine. After all, she is the little sister of Jason Taylor, who's in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. She has been involved in media before, radio before. I think in order for them to succeed, they're going to have to move on what we're doing, transitioning to podcasts. And that's the thing. I mean, look at Skip Bayless. Since Undisputed, now he has his own podcast. Stephen A. Smith, even though he's still the face of ESPN and ESPN gave him a ton of money, he's doing his podcast. And that's what you're seeing. You're seeing a lot of other people doing their podcast. Don Lemon used to work at CNN. He's now doing his own podcast. So the thing is, I believe they'll be fine. It's just that with Joy Taylor, she's going to be viewed at differently because obviously she is a woman and because of that lawsuit. With Paul Pierce, Emmanuel Acho, Keyshawn Johnson, Shady McCoy. Look, with Paul Pierce, I don't really like his basketball takes a lot. I'm sorry, and I really don't. Neither of them. I don't like any of their takes. But I do believe they'll be okay. I do believe they'll have some success in podcasting or in media. But look, heck, if Jason Whitlock can go from ESPN to Fox Sports to Glenn Beck's The Blaze, then hey, it's no surprise that those individuals can transition into podcasts. Yeah, Jason Whitlock's got his own podcast called Fearless, or show called Fearless. Although I think the name of the title Fearless does not fit him, but that's the story for another day. But I think they'll be fine. It's just that will it be what it was? No.
Podcasts for athletes and guys like us have become the new HBO.
Yes.
It's become, let me rephrase that. Podcasting for athletes, for many guys like us, it has become what HBO was to comedians. Remember, they used to do their specials on HBO back when HBO was kind of popular and known for having, these comedians on there because they wanted to have creative control of what they wanted to say rather than only having like 5 minutes on another person's show, that be a Def Comedy Jam, a Comic View, or something like that. So podcasting, I believe, to a lot of sports guys, a lot of different people, a lot of different subjects, has become the new HBO when it comes to having creative. Because when you notice back in the day when people would go to HBO, as far as being a comedian or even someone being a songwriter or whatever, they had a lot of creative, control. And I think podcasting has become a new that. And I believe really and truly we're going to see the days where guys like us supersede what the talking heads on television have to say, simply because people are losing faith in media right about now, especially sports media. I mean, sports media, I've never, and I'm not just saying this because I'm a freelance guy, but I've never seen it where people don't respect the journalistic knowledge of said major journalists. Remember when Stuart Scott was out, his word was gold. God rest his soul, John Clayton, NFL senior analyst. He was alive. His word was gold. There's very, very few guys right about now that when you talk about them, their word is gold.
Brian
I think
Windhorst.
yes, when you talk about guys, their word is gold. I think it's Shams, Ian Rappaport, Adam Schefter, and then you can pretty much draw the line right about there since Woles is gone. There's not a lot of guys in sports media that when they say something, it's gold. And you know it's the truth. And you know that you're getting the absolute fact. And I think that's why a lot of podcasters, much like yourself, PSP, there's a reason why you have 125,000 people following you right now. I believe podcasters like yourself and a lot of these independent freelancers, that's the reason why they're able to have the platform that they have. Because of us not being able to trust sports. When you hear Kendrick Perkins talk, really nobody wants to listen. When you hear Paul Pierce talk, really nobody wants to listen. When you hear a lot of these guys talk, although they're former athletes, nobody really wants to listen to them. It's getting to that point where these major networks are just like, not only that, they have to deal with streaming services. Nobody's really watching your show live anymore. So with that being said, these networks, not just Fox, even ESPN, because their ratings are down. Because they're calling it, the masses is calling it a certain type of network. So when you take that into consideration, I believe that these major sports networks, they're on their way down. And they're starting to media, and the new sports media is guys like us. Because like I stated, when you really look at the context of how people view Stephen A. Smith, people don't really view him the way they used to. When you look at the way that people view even reputable journalists, they really don't trust them. Like I said, outside of Shams, am I saying his name correctly? It is Shams, right?
Shams Charania.
It's Shams.
Shams.
Yeah. Yeah, Shams Sharon. I don't want to mispronounce anybody's name. But Shams, Ian Rappaport, Adam Schefter, and since Woles is gone, that's it. There's not that one reporter that you're going to take his word as everything. It's just a lot of opinion-based hot takes and innuendo at this point. And I think that's why a lot of these sports networks are down, because they can come to guys like us and get that. They don't have to. They can subscribe, but it's free. I don't have
I
to pay
think people more.
$20.
I
They don't
think
have to
people
pay
more
$20 in
interested.
order to see that.
I think people are more interested, champ, in hot takes rather than the truth. They don't want to believe in the truth. They rather just go with the hot takes because the hot take sounds more compelling, more intriguing. But with Keyshawn Johnson, Joy Taylor, Emmanuel Acho, Shady McCoy, I still think they'll be okay. Just not Fox Sports, ESPN. I mean, but BRF, what are your thoughts about Fox Sports, about the firings of Emmanuel Acho, Joy Taylor, Keyshawn Johnson, and them?
Well, I kind of feel like, I mean, I get the whole like, financial decisions and all this other stuff. I know what a good bit of it is as far as the Joy Taylor situation. They trying. You ain't finna sit here and tell me they ain't trying to get rid of a lot of that negative PR that she brought. They ain't about to sit here and tell me that don't have a lot, like something to do with her being cut. You ain't finna tell me that PR she brought a while back ain't got something to do with that. They ain't finna tell me. They can disguise it as a financial decision all they want to. Nah, they ain't fooling me. Um, Dave Portnoy though. Dave Portnoy. Out of all the people you could have brought in, Dave Portnoy, like really. I mean, I get Barstool Sports. They're an entity. I'm trying to be nice. They're an entity. They should be respected. Dave Portnoy though. I mean, don't get me wrong. It is sports. It is Fox. It's Fox. So I mean, it's bless their souls. It's on brand. It's very on brand. Bringing a Dave Portnoy onto their network. It's on brand. That's another. That's a conversation for another show. We'll just leave it at that. But I I feel I don't know. I feel like, I mean, I don't really like watch a whole lot of Fox Sports like that. I mean, I do follow. I do like the YouTube, like for the highlights and stuff. I do follow the Speak. I do follow Speak. You know, I do have. I mean, I have respect for Shady and Keyshawn. I mean, I don't agree with a lot of what Shady McCoy say, but I mean, I respect his views and opinions as an athlete, as a former NFL player. Um, I don't know, just I don't know. It feels very on brand of Fox to fire them and bring on Dave Portnoy. I feel I feel like that's very on brand with their network. Um, Whatever. I mean, I don't know what Dave Portnoy is going to bring as far as his viewpoints of what's going to add. I just, because I mean, it was like and it wasn't just them. It was like three shows that they're getting rid of. I think it was like them. It was the breakfast show with Chris Carton, and it was one more show. So it was like it's like three shows total that they're cutting, which in total is about like 11, 12 people that are like, that are basically gone from Fox. So I mean, Fox really for me lost a lot of their momentum after like the demise of like what Undisputed was. Like a lot of the momentum that Fox Sports was really gaining and the traction that they were gaining, having Skip and Shannon, before the whole, Skip trying to call out Shannon for being jealous of Tom Brady, which was definitely the beginning of the end of that show. They like a lot of the momentum that they had really picked up from that show, they lost after it went away, and it's kind of like it still feels like they're trying to pick up the pieces, and it's like they're not doing. I feel like they're not doing the greatest job of it. So I mean, I don't know. Whatever. I mean, I'm not gonna try to speculate as far as whatever Dave Portnoy is gonna add to the network, but that does bring a little bit of interest, a little bit of intrigue. I do kind of want to see where they're gonna, how what he's gonna bring to the table for them. I mean, only time will tell on that. But yeah, I think a lot of that was definitely related to that PR she brought back to that network a few months ago. So I think this is also them to an extent feeling like they're getting rid of that. They're getting rid of a headache because that's gonna, as long as she's on that network, we're gonna talk, and the speculation is gonna be there, and it's gonna linger. It's gonna linger no matter how much they were gonna try to disguise it, no matter how much they were gonna try to put it in the rearview mirror. As long as we saw Joy Taylor on Fox Network, those thoughts are always gonna be there. So
Conversation. Yeah.
exactly, the conversation is always gonna be there. The water cooler talk is always gonna be there. So Fox Sports probably I feel like they felt like a little bit like, yeah, like let's kind of move on from this. Let's see if we can kind of gain some traction back the right way. I don't know how Dave Portnoy is going to do it, but we'll see. But I mean, at the end of the day, you don't want nobody to lose their job still.
Right.
So I feel like, what I'm saying, I think Keyshawn will be fine. Shady, I mean, look, I don't see any reason, guys like Keyshawn and Shady, and Emmanuel Acho especially. Hey, say what you want about Emmanuel Acho. The dude is one of the more intellectual dudes in the sports talk game. We're not gonna sit here and deny the man. I mean, he makes points we agree with. He's made points we don't agree with, but we're not gonna. But us being who we are, as being, being true to this and understanding what's real, like he's gonna get back on his feet because because he knows how to talk. He really knows how to really kind of get his points across in an eloquent enough way to really kind of present himself and get him out there. Emmanuel Acho is going to be fine. And another thing with Joy Taylor, she knows her stuff. We not gonna sit here and act like she don't know stuff. And good gracious, look at her family. Jason Taylor is her brother, one of the greatest defensive ends in the history of the National Football League.
Yeah.
Is her brother.
Her
So
nephew, Mason Taylor, who's also playing for the New York Jets at the tight end spot, also played at
exactly,
LSU.
exactly.
Joy,
She is in a family with a sports background. So it's not like she's not coming in not knowledgeable of things. She knows stuff. She reads. She's a smart woman. She's reading stuff. She's following things. And she's fine. Legit, keep it a buck. We ain't finna sugarcoat nothing. She is one of the best looking women in sports talk. She is one of the best looking women in sports talk. We are not going to sugarcoat it. So just that combination that she's going to bring to the table with how beautiful she is, and her being able to back it up with her smarts, she's going to land on her feet. I feel like everybody's going to be fine with this. It's just a matter of the right opportunity presenting itself, whether it be podcast, whether it be another show. I think ultimately everybody's going to be okay for this. They're going to move forward, and they're going to pick up, and they're going to keep it pushing. So as much as I hate them losing their jobs, they're not in dire straits because they all bring something to the table in this field that we are all wanting to strive in, and we are all wanting to be successful in. So ultimately, at the end of the day, I think they're going to do fine. I think they're going to be okay, and I think they're going to be able to pick themselves up and keep it pushing. So I hated they lost their jobs, but do I think they're going to have an issues as far as like being able to keep their names out in the public eye in the sports talk world? No, I don't think they're going to have an issue with that at all.
and we've seen it before. Look, there are other athletes, ex-athletes who've been on networks that are doing well. Their podcast, Marcellus Wiley, is one. And I love the fact that Marcellus Wiley is doing his own thing. He does a good job. He talks about, and he and Stephen A. They've been having some beef lately because of how Stephen A. has really talked about Max Kellerman and how Max and Marcellus, how they used to work with each other on the radio at ESPN, Sports Nation. I believe they'll be fine. Joy, unfortunately, she's going to have to live with that perception, champ. Even whether woman and with the accusations, she's going to have to live with that. I just think with the accusations, it just adds even more. I think even if champ, if you told me, hey, she's a woman and because she's attractive, okay, I can understand that because that's been the stigma with women for a lot of times. But when those accusations come out even though we haven't heard much, but still, that's pretty damning.
Yeah,
So
it's pretty damning. And one thing I would like to add before we end the segment and to ask you two smart gentlemen this, is it time to start for these networks to start hiring journalists once again as sports writers and for them to stop hiring former athletes? Because the
yes,
thing is, we thought that them hiring athletes was going to give us a more, you know, I would say unbiased take on things. But
yes,
now we're seeing that it does not, as evident with Paul Pierce and a lot of other guys.
yes,
Is it time for them to
absolutely.
stop hiring those athletes and for them to start hiring reputable journalists?
Because it goes to show you that the days of, well, how would you know? You never played the game, therefore you can't speak. Those days are gone now.
Mm-hmm.
So because if you're going to use that logic, Kendrick Perkins would be the best sports analyst, and we've heard a lot of his takes, not that good. We've heard a lot of other takes. So yeah, I mean, but unfortunately, champ, with ESPN and all these other networks, they're more interested about the ratings. They're more interested in ratings. I mean, nowadays, when you look at the sports media, particularly some of the shows on ESPN, it's becoming more like reality television. And Stephen A. Smith, I'm sorry, even though he's the face of ESPN, got his contract 5 year, $100 million, he's becoming more and more like a reality star nowadays. Because when you hear some of the stuff that he says, not just about with sports, but also in other things as well, which y'all can talk about it, but hey, but you need to go back to journalism. You need to go back to people who've covered the game, who have knowledge, who are fair, who will just critique the game and game itself. They need to go back into doing that. But it seems like to me, people are more interested in hot takes. People are more interested in clicks and reviews rather than the truth. Doesn't matter about the truth. Doesn't matter about facts. They're more interested in what they want to believe.
Mm-hmm.
They're more interested in fiction. And that's the shame in reality.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's why I asked that question, because I thought that when the athletes became the analysts, that we was going to start getting a more better take on things. It's gotten worse.
It has.
It's gotten worse. And as far as ESPN, look, bringing back the shows that,
Why do you think they're bringing back NBA on NBC, champ? You told me
yeah,
that before.
the thing is, sports stories sell itself. You don't have to bring drama into it. The NFL sells itself. You don't have to bring drama into it. The thing is, the W sells itself. You don't have to bring drama into it. It's pure. In the great words of Jim Brown when he said on any given Sunday. The thing is this, ESPN was at its most popular when shows like Top 5 Reasons You Can't Blame was on there. Shows like Up Close when they were interviewing the athletes every day. Y'all remember Up Close, right? With I think his name was Chris Myers.
Yes.
Yes. Everybody remember Up Close for another certain reason, but we won't go there.
Or sports
But
reporters.
yes, sports reporters. You remember that? You remember it for Sports Century. Long before
Yes.
30 for 30, you had Sports Century that gave you many documentaries on how these athletes became and on their lives. And you had better coverage of every sport. Let's just keep it a buck. Back in the 90s, early 2000s, ESPN had a show for every sports fan. You remember when I think his name was Coach Melrose? I remember he used to host the Hockey Tonight segment. ESPN Hockey Tonight. It's gotten so bad at ESPN that they're not going to be even hosting baseball tonight anymore. I think that's going to CBS. So That's what we got to get back to as far as these sports networks are concerned. Get back to the journalism and the pureness of sports. You don't have to sell drama. The reason why people are getting turned off at the NBA because every time we look around, we talk about the same damn thing. Who's the GOAT? We just talked about this 3 weeks ago. What about who's the most improved player? Who's coming out of college? Who's hit the transfer portal? Who's going to be most valuable player? That's why a lot of these sports networks are going down. They, like you said, PSP, they're selling it like reality TV now. When that's not sports. Sports is not freaking scripted. This is not the WWE.
But apparently that's what they want. And they don't care about the reality. You know, just like when we discussed with RG3 and Angel Reese, it's a damn shame because we should be talking more about with the WNBA. Again, if Fisher Collier, as right now, if the season ended today, she would be winning the MVP. Or Paige Bueckers, or a lot of other things regarding the WNBA. But instead, we talk about that, and people outside, casuals, will feel like, well, this is an interesting thing to talk about with the WNBA. Not to me. Especially, I may not watch or cover the WNBA as much as you, Champ, but I watch it from time to time. I actually like watching the WNBA. But it doesn't seem, but casuals, they're not interested in it. They're not interested in the players. They're not interested in the game. They're more interested in just drama, fights, reality, and things like that. But again, that's what people just want, the attention, the drama, instead of the journalism, the reporting. And that's a lost art in today's generation. And it's a shame, and we have to remind people that there are good, credible journalists out there like Brian Windhorst. If Brian Windhorst is going to say something, I want to hear what he has to say. Or anyone in the NFL, like Ian Rappaport or Diana Rossini or Jacina Anderson. Remember back in the days, one of my favorite female reporters, Pam Oliver, who used to work at Fox Sports, or Rachel Nichols.
Yes.
But it just seems like people are more interested in hot takes. They're more interested in what they want to believe. And that's what helps them get the clicks, reviews, and all these other things. And it does a disservice. So
yes, it does.
nothing more I could say.